Mexico on video. Mexico City's Zócalo is the largest public square in the country. In olden times, the Aztec temples and palaces were located there, and nowadays it is surrounded by several very important buildings. On the north of this plaza is located one of Mexico City's most beautiful buildings, the Metropolitan Cathedral. The facade and interior of this building are a mixture of architectural styles, including the Baroque and the Doric. Inside the cathedral are several beautifully decorated chapels and altars of great value. Every day, the Catholic faithful visit the cathedral to light candles, to request a favor from a saint of their devotion. And on their departure, images of the Virgin Mary and other religious articles can be bought. The National Palace is another of the Zócalo's great buildings. Here is where the President of Mexico and other politicians have their offices. One of the most beautiful and forceful murals of the famous painter Diego Rivera, relating the history of Mexico, adorns the central patio of this palace. There are scenes from the prehispanic era, depicting the Indians and their social organization, merchants in the market engaged in their typical barter, exchanging maize, tomatoes, and other food. Fragments of the mural illustrate the battles of the conquest of Mexico. Above this phase of the mural, the period of the Inquisition is represented, followed by the War of Independence. And then, continuing the historical thread, the epic of the Reform appears, including President Benito Juárez. But this mural could not overlook the significant revolutionary period, and here the revolution's great heroes and the people in arms are pictured. Other buildings of the era, like the National Pawn Shop and the Department of the Federal District, are located in the Zócalo. The Zócalo is a place with an enormous history and great tradition. In Mexico, a great number of cultural events occur, the National Folkloric Ballet being one of them. It is a spectacle full of color, movement, and plasticity, in which you can admire dances coming from different Mexican states. The Tarascan Wedding is one of these dances from the Lake Pátzcuaro region of the state of Michoacán, representing scenes of tender happiness combined with the natural dignity and respect characteristic of the Purépecha people during the festivities traditionally accompanying a marriage ceremony. Another scene from this emotional spectacle is the Veracruzana Fiesta. Huapangos and sones are very popular in the state of Veracruz. It can be easily seen that the zapatallados danced in this number had been influenced by the Spanish flamenco, although they are constantly spiced with the picaresque ingenuity of the people from Veracruz.
Para verla la bamba se necesita una poca de gracia, otra cosita y arriba, y arriba, y arriba, y arriba, y arriba, y yo no soy marinero,
One of the most typical dances is the Mexican hat dance, composed of complicated rhythms and zapateados which originated in the state of Jalisco. The beautiful and colorful costumes of the performers complement this great spectacle and harmonize with the agility and tremendous grace of the dancers. This ballet's beauty lies in the fact that while they are dancing, you learn a little about ancient Mexico's history and traditions, and you enjoy their great dynamism, color, and perfection. Taxco, which lies in perhaps the oldest mining region of Latin America, is one of the most beautiful towns in Mexico, inundated with white houses and red tile roofs. It has many points of interest, as well as the lovely panoramas and incredible handicrafts it produces. The Santa Prisca Parish Church dominates the Taxco landscape. It is a beautiful monument with a majestic exterior composed of high towers adorned with tile. Narrow, steep, cobblestone streets invite you to stroll. Silver is Taxco's most important source of income. The entire region is full of stores and shops where this fine metal is worked. Taxco supplies the rest of Mexico with this precious metal and the lovely pieces made from it. Taxco's Silver Fair is an annual event at which the artisans have an opportunity to display their wares to the public. Prizes are given for the best works valued at many millions of pesos. From childhood, its inhabitants are exposed to silver work, and some of them become skillful silversmiths and jewelers. There are an impressive number of silver shops in Taxco, from the tiny ones, in which a silversmith labors in a small workshop, to the large ones employing many workers. Taxco has many attractions for the tourist wishing to enjoy a pleasant and enjoyable stay. Of course, its environment is rural, but it has all of a great city's conveniences. Taxco invites its visitors to enjoy its panoramas, the warmth of its people, its extraordinary architecture, and the works of art done in silver, all of which makes it a place that all visitors to Mexico really should visit. The Shrine of Guadalupe is visited by hundreds of Mexican Catholics every day as a sign of their deep devotion. There is an ancient basilica built in the 18th century whose facade and interiors are beautifully ornamented in the style of that era. However, it was sinking and could only hold 2,000 people, so a new and modern basilica was built. The ancient basilica is undergoing expensive repairs and will remain closed until they are finished. The new building is a marvelous modern architectural work supported by 1,000 subterranean pillars and can hold 20,000 people. No pillars are visible inside the building so that the altar can be seen from any place. The main altar is made of white Carrara marble and marble from Puebla. The Virgin of Guadalupe is Mexico's patron saint and is the figure most venerated and adored by Mexican Catholics. To such a degree does their devotion reach that in thanks for favors received from her, some of them travel kilometer after kilometer on their knees until they reach the place where her image is located. In order to facilitate contemplation of the miraculous cloak, there is a corridor behind the altar leading to a point where it is exposed and everyone can see it from very close. 160 hexagonal lamps made of leaded crystal, aluminum, bronze, and forged iron hang from the ceiling. On a high hill behind the basilica is the Chapel of Tepeyac, which is said to be the place where the Virgin appeared to Juan Diego. A great tumult, much confusion, cries of "Get your good ticket here!" Great haste to be seated in a box seat. A great multitude that thrills to enter the plaza where in a few moments it will enjoy a feast of its senses. This is the scene perceived on a Sunday afternoon during the season when the aficionados come to see the traditional and folkloric running of the bulls at the Plaza Mexico ring with 50,000 seats, the largest in the world. The spectacle is so emotional that sometimes what is going on in the tiers of seats is as entertaining as what is going on in the ring itself. The Fiesta Brava is a very special spectacle, which has the touch of danger to which the torero is always exposed. But besides, in the midst of this danger, he is able to execute feats with the bull that are so aesthetic that it seems we are witnessing a continuous exhibition of works in art, which in addition have the tremendous value of being ephemeral, because they will not be seen again. The plasticity, color, and picturesque aspects of the torero have been the inspiration of great painting masters such as Picasso and Goya. The matador, without the cape to defend him, and his sword hidden in the muleta, faces the bull. This part is the most prized due to the enormous risk. While engaged in the feat, the torero is dominating the bull and preparing for its kill. When he deems the time is right, he draws the sword and enters into the final feat in which the torero kills the bull with his sword. During the entire corrida, the public of aficionados expresses its emotions with the traditional cries of "Ole!" If the faena is good, and the authority decides to reward the torero, it can give him a trip around the ring, 1 or 2 ears, and the tail if the animal had breeding and was brave. Sometimes a bull is pardoned and leaves the ring alive. Sometimes it is dragged slowly around the ring so the public can applaud its bravery. So this is the ending of this great fiesta that plays with death and is full of life, where many emotions, expectations, and enthusiasm meet. Bullfighting is a spectacle full of folkloric tradition that is now and has always been worthy of appreciation and applauded for its art. The charreada is one of Mexico's favorite spectacles and is quite like the modern rodeo. There are many charro groups in the Federal District, where every Sunday this traditional fiesta is held, at which skillful horsemen perform various feats. Women also take part and display their skill at horseback riding. Charros engage in many feats, like roping. Another feat that is just as spectacular is the pass of death, when the horseman leaps from one horse to another at a gallop. Lively mariachi music always accompanies the spectacle, and the public enjoys the feats and encourages the brave horsemen. At times, the fiesta is accompanied by special activities. For example, a parade of typical Mexican fashions, at which costumes are exhibited that are true works of art because of the color of their embroideries and lace and folkloric design. The value of these creations is enormously increased because they are handmade by clothing craftsmen. This kind of fiesta cannot go on without the happy Mexican spirit, which is evident in the Mexican dance numbers that close the festivities. National Museum of Anthropology is a great architectural piece of art, and the monumental sculpture of Tlaloc, the rain god, was placed in front of it as an outside attraction. From the lobby, you enter the great patio surrounded by the exhibition halls. The showpiece of the patio is the beautifully engraved metal column, which is also an inverted fountain. The museum is composed of 21 halls on 2 levels, displaying many vestiges and pieces comprising the legacy of Mexico's history. The Mexico Hall contains an enormous maquette, a faithful reproduction in miniature of the ceremonial center of the great Tenochtitlan, prehistoric Mexico City, where the most important temples can be seen. There is also a replica of the city's market with scale models of its personages and food. In the hall dedicated to ethnography are displayed pieces and data that speak to us of the ways of life and the customs of the diverse groups that inhabited our country. Metal, earthenware, and stone pieces are exposed to view in the various halls, allowing us during a brief visit to witness the stages followed by our people to reach our present days. The garden of the Maya Hall contains a natural-size reproduction of the Xochimilco temple of this people, the central part of which is decorated with a great mask of the god Chac. Outstanding among all of the pieces and sculptures to be found in the museum is the Aztec calendar, a monument dedicated to the 5th sun. The sun's face is represented by this beautiful stone, which in ancient times was painted in intense colors. It is called a calendar because some of its signs define a 20-day, 18-month system, every day named after some animal. A visit to the National Museum of Anthropology is like making a journey into the past. Teotihuacan is one of the most important and famous archaeological sites in the world. Some of Mexico's most beautiful ruins are to be found there. The avenue and principal axis of this well-planned city bears the name of the Street of the Dead. At one end is the Plaza of the Pyramid of the Moon, in which its buildings and the use of space are perfectly symmetrical. The Pyramid of the Moon is 46 meters high. On the other end of the Street of the Dead, we find the Pyramid of the Sun, which is surrounded by a plaza of the same name. In the center of this plaza is a temple. The Pyramid of the Sun is 65 meters high. It is the highest structure in the city and has the greatest volume. Its core is made of adobe, and it was covered with stucco. There is a place in this city that was called the Citadel. This is an enormous rectangle that had dwellings around it in which the priests and rulers resided. The equilibrium of the open space at this site is incredible, as it harmonizes perfectly with the monumental aspects of the pyramids. Conspicuous on the west side of the Plaza of the Moon is Quetzalcoatl's Palace, which is the most important and luxurious of all the buildings in the city. Obviously, it served as the residence of some notable personage or priest. In it, beautiful sculptures of Teotihuacan gods stand out, and there is a patio whose pillars are decorated with handsome bas-reliefs. According to Aztec mythology, Teotihuacan is the place at which the gods met to create the sun and the moon. There they built 2 pyramids so that they could sacrifice from their summits, and they tossed the gods Nanavatzin and Dexiscatl into a bonfire. They rose from the dead and became the sun and the moon. This city was abandoned, and afterwards the Aztecs came, who were impressed by the grandeur of the city and called it Teotihuacan, which means the place where men become gods. You can enjoy an unforgettable trip on the famous canals of Xochimilco. Xochimilco is on the south of Mexico City and is the only place where you can still see the floating gardens that predominated in the Aztec city in ancient times. It was down these canals that fruits and vegetables were carried to the center of the city. Nowadays, it is one of the most beautiful tourist sites in the world, where people enjoy spending weekends, particularly on Sunday mornings. Gondolas are available to carry visitors along the canals. The voyage's attraction is increased thanks to the vendors who roam the canals in their small gondolas, offering food, sarapes and rebosos, flowers and refreshments. To liven things up, there are groups of mariachis who can accompany the traveler in his gondola. To provide you with a memento of your trip, there are photographers in canoes who offer their services. And close to the canals, there's a colorful market of typical handicrafts where a tourist can acquire a beautiful folkloric souvenir of Xochimilco. Chapultepec is an Aztec word meaning grasshopper hill. The largest park in the world inside a city is known by this name. Out of its past history are still conserved the castle, inhabited by Maximilian and Carlota, and the monument erected in honor of the heroic lads who defended this castle with their lives. There are 5 museums in the park, and sculptures and fountains adorn the place, and 3 lakes where various activities are carried out. You can row a boat, sit on the bank, and pass a fine day in the park, or go to eat something in the cafeteria of the beautiful Restaurante del Lago. Mornings, the large lake is much frequented by jogging athletes. In addition, there are a complete and perfectly maintained zoological garden and children's pastimes, so that the little ones can also enjoy their day in the park. Many open-air cultural events and spectacles take place in Chapultepec Park. Mexican people are very fond of attending spectacles full of danger and excitement. One of the most common is called the palenque, where cockfighting is organized in the provinces. Prior to the fight, the people observe the cocks, select their favorite, and place bets that their cock will come out a winner. When this has been done, the people leave the ring so they can see the fight. To infuriate and excite a cock, it is brought close to a special cock called the monkey. And when the handlers feel the cocks are ready, they toss them against each other so that the savage encounter can begin. Besides the training given a cock so that it will be nimble, a blade is tied to its spur, with which it wounds its adversary. If a cock is very nimble and jumps high, the knife is smaller. As a general rule, cocks are left-handed. However, when one of the two is heavier than the other, the blade is tied to its right foot so that it will not have an advantage. When there is no advantage, the blade is 3/4 of an inch wide. A fight is to the death, and if a cock won't fight, he is declared the loser. It doesn't end until one of the two sinks his head in the ground. If they do it at the same time, it is declared a draw. There are 7 obligatory fights as a general rule. Afterwards, a show can be given, and sometimes there are exhibition fights. During a fight, the public enlivens the spectacle by supporting its favorite. Mexico City is surrounded by beautiful places where you can have some great times. However, there is one in particular that, due to its close proximity, marvelous climate, and beauty, is the favorite of Mexico City's residents and of many foreigners who love Mexico. It lies 75 kilometers from Mexico City in a splendid valley, Cuernavaca. Since the 16th century, when Cortez selected it for his summer place and built his rustic palace, Cuernavaca has been the favorite place of internationally famous personages, Maximilian, Erich Fromm, Merrill Oberon, and many others. The Palace of Cortez is one of the monuments that can still be seen there. Cuernavaca is known as the City of Eternal Spring because it is the ideal place for rest, as its vegetation is splendid, and you could swear that the sun shows its face in this city almost 365 days a year. Cuernavaca also has a spa and gardens, which give a sense of well-being and of recovered energy to tourists. Besides this, it has all of the conveniences required for enjoyment of your visit, since it has hotels and restaurants of excellent quality. The vibrant Zona Rosa, Pink Zone, at the south end of Reforma Avenue, is one of the places most frequented by Mexico City residents and by tourists. You can find almost anything you might imagine in this cosmopolitan place. In only 1 square mile, there are 18 hotels, over 200 restaurants, and hundreds of elegant boutiques. Its attractive sidewalk cafes on the small side streets are always full of happy and jovial people. These restaurants offer almost any type of food. People enjoy strolling its streets, looking into shop windows, or watching some street spectacle. It is quite common to see a mime imitating the passerby, or a group of rock and roll youths playing their music in the open air. Nightlife in the Zona Rosa is fascinating. You can enjoy a good show, an exciting night in a discotheque, or an excellent dinner. The Zona Rosa is full of life, and it would seem that it will never cease to welcome people from all over the world and all types of life. If you don't find what you're looking for in the Zona Rosa, it just doesn't exist. El Paseo de la Reforma, one of Mexico City's 2 main streets, is one of the most beautiful in the city. This long 8-lane avenue is flanked by luxurious hotels, modern buildings, and an endless number of stores, restaurants, and moving picture houses. It was terminated in 1865 on orders of the Emperor Music is an indispensable part of Mexican life, and the famous mariachi music is the favorite of all Mexicans. Plaza Garibaldi is a typical place where these musicians gather in their beautiful black, silver-buttoned costumes in the expectation of being contracted by some romantic lover or simply to enliven some event. More than 100 groups of mariachi will gather on a single night. On the cobblestone streets of this plaza, the gaiety of the onlookers mixes with the tuneful notes of the instruments of the mariachis to create a unique environment, where the public is infected with the music and sings along with the music of the mariachis. The plaza is replete with numerous bars and saloons, in which, within the sound of the melodies, people drink a toast in Mexican tequila to their happiness or try to drown their sorrows. A traditional Mexican custom is for an enamored boyfriend to contract a group of mariachis and take them to his sweetheart's balcony, hoping that she will show herself and sing a serenade. Garibaldi is one of the most faithful reflections of the feelings of the Mexican people, the legendary machismo, romanticism, and picaresque gallantry towards women, all expressed through authentic Mexican music. Plaza Garibaldi, in the heart of Mexico City. Acapulco is the place that a tourist coming to Mexico must not fail to visit. It is a city without equal, with its incredible panoramas, golden beaches, and an infinite number of hotels, restaurants, bars, and discotheques. In Acapulco, there is a diversion for every budget and for every style of life. Acapulco is where you can enjoy a tranquil vacation viewing the beautiful tropical landscape, or rather pass some days of enormous diversion and excitement. If it is spectacle you want, you should not fail to see the Quebrada, an immense rock from whose heights skilled divers execute very difficult leaps. Miguel Alemán Avenue is an enormous quantity of modern luxury hotels, restaurants, and shops. Acapulco's warm climate makes possible the enjoyment of many activities in the open air. A fashion show. Or if you desire to rest and bronze your skin, that you can do by taking the sun with the tranquil ocean as your companion. On the 38 public beaches, Acapulco makes available for your pleasure. Every kind of aquatic sport can be engaged in: skiing, sailing, skin diving, and fishing. Acapulco's sundowns are incomparable. The colors are so magnificent that it seems you are looking at a postcard.